All right, and we're back. It's Be Lifted Up, your guide to living an abundant life. And so, Alfred, on today's show, we're talking about how can my service make a difference and the welfare of the city, right? And when I think about the welfare of the city, I think about so much is going on in the world, not just the city, but the world and the country that is concerning and requiring us to just show up in life, I think, in a different way with a different posture, a different prayer life, but also to think about how we can serve and how we can become part of the solution. And so I want to hear a little bit of your thoughts, Alfred, but I think about what you said before we went to the break. And that is about, the idea of how we serve and the fact that we are here to be of service. In fact, I think of the word that says we are here to be good stewards of time, talent, and resources. And I know our guest is going to take us a little bit deeper, but all of this is to bring us to the conversation about the welfare of our cities, how we take care of our cities, and how we can be of service to make a difference. So what say you, my friend?
Well, it boils down to us taking care of one another. Let's face it, we don't serve God because God needs something from us. We serve God because God tells us to show me that you love me, serve your fellow man, serve the people around you. So yeah, often we can't always feel like we can do something about major challenges and tragedies around the world or outside of but all of us can find a way to serve somebody, no matter what you have, no matter how much you have, nor how little you have. To be a person of faith, to be a person of God, means serving other people, and God provides to us so that we can serve one another. And by the way, the beauty of it is that if we are truly serving, we can't outgive God. We can't outserve. Like we're never going to run out of enough for ourselves. And sometimes I think if we have come from a disadvantage, or in our own minds, a disadvantaged mindset, we think, well, I can't really do anything because I don't have anything. When the truth is, the more you do, the more God will equip you to do. And there will always be extra baskets of fish and loaves to go, after you feel like I've served and I've served and I've served. And God's like, no matter how much you serve, there's always going to be more left over for you. So I spent a lot of time in this current season fighting kind of the owning and hoarding. And I got to hold on to this mentality because I've learned, really by practice, the more you release in service of others, the more God provides to you. And we see that all throughout the word, where God promises that and he never fails to deliver on that.
Yeah, that's a good word on service. And, you really led us into our guest today, because our guest, Juanita, pastor, preacher, teacher, she's a speaker, an author, spiritual director, and really a contemplative teacher, which I can't wait to talk to her as she comes in, as she enters the room. I'm going to just share just a little bit about Pastor Juanita Rasmus. She understands the power of service, and that's why we have her on the show today. When she takes the stage, one can hear the audience just sigh of relief, knowing that her inspirational wisdom is in the room. Her inspirational insight is in the room, and also because she's a pastor. She has been co-pastor of the St. John's United Methodist Church in downtown Houston. I love Houston, by the way, with her husband, Rudy, since 1992, with only 9 members. I love the backstory of, pastor and her husband, 9 members in 1992. And with great determination, thoughtful teaching, thousands of people from all walks of life have joined St. John, and making it one of the most culturally diverse congregations in the country. So without further ado, a round of applause for Pastor Juanita Rasmus. Yes. Pastor, welcome you to the show.
Thank you both so very much. What a pleasure to be with you.
Oh my goodness. So there's a lot in your background, and we're excited to have you here because we're talking about service and the welfare of our city. And so there's a problem or a challenge, and then there is a solution. And so that's what we're really talking about. And we're excited about hearing from you and just in all of what you do. So can we start with, a little bit of your backstory and how you got to, pastoring a church, starting 9 members. We know you co-founded Bread of Life, a nonprofit organization. We know you've had some amazing partnerships with Tina Knowles Lawson and Beyonce when you all served flood victims some time ago. We know you launched the Community Development Corporation in 2006. And also the Art Project Houston. So we know a lot about, or a little bit about where you are today. Can you just take us back to sort of your faith journey and what sort of led you to doing all that you do today?
Sure. Well, thank you again for having me today. Oh boy, if you say go back. I think so much of who we are is often in our DNA. And so when I look at my DNA and I look at the DNA that my husband had, we both came from fairly entrepreneurial families. They were people who worked hard, but they also usually had a little side hustle. And that side hustle provided them with some freedom, some flexibility in time and money. And it also gave them an opportunity to be generous, which is what we've been talking, or what you guys have been talking about today. When my husband and I first got married, we realized that we were going to need a different kind of church. My husband wasn't a believer at the time. And so we needed a space that was going to be open and welcoming for us to both grow together as a couple, and for my husband really to grow in his relationship with God. And so we found that place. And in doing so, my background is that I sold insurance products and securities, mutual funds, limited partnerships, and that kind of thing. And so our pastor invited us. My husband was a real estate broker by day, and he has a backstory about what he did at nighttime. Basically, he and his father owned a borderline bordello, and that had been a dream of my father-in-law's because it was a quick way to make money. As I said, we come from a long line of entrepreneurs. And so my husband sold real estate, and our pastor at the time asked if the two of us would serve on the Commission on Stewardship at our church. In doing so, we got an opportunity, or at least I did, because I did most of the teaching from this ministry, on time and money freedom, on resources, what it means to utilize our gifts for the good of the community. What does it mean to manage our time well, so that we are living our most expansive lives, not our most contracted lives, which I find so many of us are. But my background really boils down to seeing both of my grandparents, sets of grandparents, take limited resources, and because of God's grace and their faithfulness, be able to do exceedingly abundantly above anything we could have ever imagined as a family. When we were given the opportunity to go to St. John's, neither my husband or I went as pastors, because we weren't pastors. We were simply servants. We were asked to go to St. John's, which was a church that our denomination was about to close because it only had 9 members who were primarily white. The average age at the time was about 70. This church had served its community, but no longer had vigor, no longer had vitality. And in our denomination, vigor and vitality for the denomination simply means you could pay the franchise tax. They couldn't pay their franchise tax. Think of it as having a McDonald's franchise, and you're showing up to work every day, but you can't meet the expenses. And so our pastor was given the opportunity to take on what we call a 2-point charge. He asked my husband and I if we would go down to the church and see what we could do. Well, the first thing we saw was need. Literally homeless men and women sleeping on the doorsteps who were in need of support. Our church is in downtown Houston, and so it became a refuge for the homeless community. So when we got there, we said the first thing is, one of the things I've learned in my background in sales was find a need and fill it. And so the need was, how do we meet the need of the least, lost, the last, the left out? We began to provide meals. We started by providing 1 meal a week, a hot meal. We always said that we would not serve a meal that we wouldn't feed our family, that we wouldn't eat ourselves. Yeah. And so we often tried to provide meals with humanity and hospitality. So that's how we got started.
Wow, wow, wow. We will be right back after this break. It's Be Lifted Up.